A pop-up. Just one click, and the very next moment, everything in an innocent old woman's life is gone. The trust money she'd saved bit by bit over the years, her bank accounts, all of it vanished. But the people who did this had no idea what a terrifying mistake they just made. Because in the house where this woman lived, there was a sleeping monster renting a room. He looked completely ordinary, quiet, harmless, just keeping bees and selling honey. Nobody paid him any attention. But after that scam, this very man burns the entire scam gang to the ground. He kills one person after another, and even the CIA's most powerful people tremble at the mention of his name. Because he's no ordinary man, he's a beekeeper. And once a beekeeper sets his target, no one on earth has the power to stop him, not even the president. So we are talking about 2024's action-packed Jason Statham thriller, The Beekeeper. So at the start of the movie, we see a man named Adam Clay who is a beekeeper. He raises bees, and an elderly woman named Eloise Parker has arranged for him to stay on her property. Mrs. Eloise is an incredibly kind-hearted person. She's a school teacher, and at the same time, she looks after Adam, for which Adam is deeply grateful. This huge piece of land, which used to be full of dry branches, trees, and overgrown grass, Adam has completely transformed and made flourish. Mrs. Eloise invites Adam to have lunch at her house. Meanwhile, Adam goes off to tend to his bees. Mrs. Eloise, on the other hand, goes into her room and starts doing some work on her laptop when suddenly a pop-up appears saying her software is outdated and needs to be updated immediately. If she doesn't update it, all the data on her computer will be deleted, which she definitely doesn't want since she has family photos on there, photos of her daughter. A tech support number is provided on the pop-up. Mrs. Eloise calls that number to get the issue fixed, and the people on the other end of the line are scammers, the kind who target elderly people, trick them, and empty their bank accounts. So a man named Garnett is the one talking to Mrs. Eloise. He tells her that her software is outdated and needs to be fixed right away. But Mrs. Eloise doesn't know how to fix it herself. She only uses the laptop for her own work. She has no idea how to update software like that. So Mickey tells her that they can fix it remotely from their end if Mrs. Eloise grants them permission. Obviously, since she doesn't understand any of this, she agrees, and the scammers send her a website. Eloise visits the site and installs a piece of software, and that turns out to be her biggest mistake. As a result, the scammers gain access to Mrs. Eloise's laptop.
Now, having access to the laptop alone isn't enough. They need access to her bank account. This elderly woman is just a school teacher, but she's also connected to some trusts. She does charity work, looks after innocent children, and she's the one managing the fund for their organization, which holds close to $2 million. The scammers exploit this innocent old woman's trust and completely drain every single one of Mrs. Eloise's bank accounts. On one side, Mrs. Eloise is anxious and confused, unable to understand what's happening since she doesn't know much about computers. On the other side, Mickey and his team on the phone are celebrating having reeled in another victim. Once they've looted the money, they disconnect the call. Mrs. Eloise has no way of reaching them again, and when she checks her bank accounts, she finds every single one at zero balance. The money wasn't even hers. It belonged to the trust she was responsible for managing. Now what is she supposed to say? Her phone keeps buzzing with message after message about suspicious activity detected on her accounts. She's been defrauded, completely fooled. With no way out left, Mrs. Eloise makes a devastating decision. Meanwhile, Adam Clay, who lives in a small room there tending to his bees, has lovingly made some honey for Mrs. Eloise to give her. But when he gets back to the house at night, he notices smoke everywhere, the alarm going off, and it looks like something has been ransacked in her room. Something unnatural has happened. Sensing this, Adam grabs a knife. At that exact moment, someone else walks in. Her name is Verona Parker, Mrs. Eloise's daughter. She's an FBI agent, and the two of them discover Mrs. Eloise lying dead. Verona breaks down in grief, and she starts to suspect that Adam might have killed her mother since he was found in her mother's room holding a knife. Adam tells them the whole truth, that he rents a room there and that he brought a jar of honey to give to Mrs. Eloise. Regardless, the police take Adam away. Verona, meanwhile, also realizes that Adam really is telling the truth, that the land really is used for beekeeping, and shortly after, the police bring Adam back, since he's not at fault. The police have thoroughly investigated and determined that it was a suicide. Then Verona comes back to apologize to Adam since she had wrongly suspected him. Adam forgives her too, because he understands the state of mind she must be in right now. She wants revenge on the scammers who deceived her mother. And it's right then that Adam learns the truth, that Mrs. Eloise was deceived, scammed, and her account completely emptied out. Adam believes that stealing from a child and stealing from an elderly person is essentially the same thing, and he immediately leaves saying he's gonna go check on his hives. Adam Clay takes Mrs. Eloise's death very personally. First of all, Mrs. Eloise loved him dearly. She also had a son who died in war. He was a soldier, and she used to see her own son in Adam. At the same time, Adam has also mentioned that no one had looked after him in a long time until Mrs. Eloise did. So whoever did this to Mrs. Eloise will have to pay the price.
Adam has a kind of satellite phone with him, which he uses to call somewhere. Where exactly or who exactly he's calling isn't made clear, but it becomes evident that he used to work for some secret organization, though he's currently living a retired life. Until now. Adam calls that center and asks who exactly called Mrs. Parker, that is Eloise Parker, because tracking these people down is extremely difficult. Verona, who is herself an FBI agent, also knows that these scammers have been on the FBI's radar for nearly 2 years, but no trace of them, nothing at all, has ever been found. Catching them seems completely impossible. But for Adam, finding them isn't impossible at all. Verona mentions that this scam operation runs worldwide. In order to find out who they are and what exactly they do, Adam shows up at one of their offices. Honestly, even now, no one really knows what goes on inside that office. Adam arrives there carrying gasoline, having planned to burn the entire building down. Some security guards try to stop him, but Adam is incredibly skilled, an excellent fighter. He makes his way to the reception desk where we learn the company's name, United Data Group. Adam tells the receptionist to quietly get everyone from the other companies in the building to leave because he's about to set the whole building on fire. Adam then makes his way to the call center where everyone is busy doing their job, that is, scamming people. Adam beats them all up thoroughly and forces them to swear that they will never again deceive elderly people or other innocent victims. Then we see that scumbag, Mickey, the one who had scammed Mrs. Eloise, bringing in some security guards. But fighting Adam isn't that easy. We still don't know much about Adam's background or how exactly he's such a skilled fighter. Regardless, after thoroughly beating them down, Adam pours gasoline all over the place, sets up a detonator and rigs it so that if even a single call goes out from that call center, the entire place will blow up. Well, by accident, one of their lines was still active and a call automatically went out, causing the entire building to be destroyed. That scumbag Mickey then calls his boss, Derek Danforth, a completely spoiled rich kid, exactly the type you'd expect with too much money, who is being looked after by a former CIA director, Wallace Westlake. Derek asks Wallace if he can track down whoever burned down their office and ran off, given that Wallace used to be a CIA director after all. Wallace points out that this is basically just a job for the local police. Why would he get involved? In truth, Derek can't reveal to anyone the scams he's been running, which is exactly why he can't explain why he needs CIA help. Anyway, since Wallace won't help him directly, he calls Mickey instead and tells him to pull up the records of everyone they've scammed and robbed recently because they need to find out if someone took this personally. Meanwhile, the FBI, Verona and her partner Matt, arrive at the scene of the incident. Verona, it turns out, already knew quite a bit about the shady dealings of United Data Group. Their Dropbox is full of letters from people claiming they were scammed and so on, but no legal action has ever been taken because no one has any proof. However, recently a man showed up with 2 cans of gasoline, beat the security guards to a pulp, burned the entire place down and left. Even the CCTV footage was destroyed, so no one knows who did it. The receptionist mentions that the man appeared to be around 40 years old.
Meanwhile, Mickey shows up with some thugs at Mrs. Eloise's house since he knows he was the one who recently scammed her and he wants to find out if it was one of her relatives or children who did this. And that's where he spots Adam still going about his beekeeping work. Since Adam destroyed their office, they retaliate by destroying Adam's beekeeping boxes, the ones he uses for his hives, and then the whole team goes after Adam to kill him, which turns out to be their biggest mistake. Adam shows them absolutely no mercy, brutally and ruthlessly killing them one by one. At the end, Mickey tries to run, but Adam cuts off his fingers. Meanwhile, Verona gets word that her mother's house is on fire. She and her partner rush there and find several dead bodies, people Adam had killed. When she checks the IDs of the dead men, she notices the same company name, United Data Group. Verona's partner Matt starts to suspect that this might be the work of the same unidentified man, Adam Clay, the one who was renting a room at Mrs. Eloise's house, and that he might be the one who burned down the United Data Group building. Meanwhile, that scumbag Mickey, now missing most of his fingers, calls his boss Derek and tells him that this man beat them badly and killed his men, though no one knows who he is, except that he's just a beekeeper. Derek himself is shocked to hear that a beekeeper could be capable of all this. Regardless, that turns out to be Mickey's last day because Adam ties him to a car and pushes it off a bridge, killing him instantly. Adam then takes Mickey's phone and starts talking on it, and on the other end is none other than Derek Danforth, the main culprit. Adam tells him he's coming to teach him a lesson. Derek boldly hurls some insults back at him, not realizing exactly who he's messing with. Derek contacts his bodyguard Wallace. Well, not exactly a bodyguard, he's a former CIA director and naturally he holds considerable power. But when Wallace learns that the man threatening Derek is a beekeeper, he's shaken. He knows that once a beekeeper promises to kill someone, he will follow through and nothing on earth can stop him. Although Wallace doesn't know everything about Derek, he does know that Derek is a spoiled young troublemaker running all sorts of shady businesses. He also runs a company called Danforth Enterprises. However, Wallace still has no idea that this company has secretly been scamming people behind the scenes. Anyway, Derek's mother, Jessica Danforth, shares a special relationship with Wallace. He has feelings for her, which is part of the reason he looks after Derek. Of course, he also has another motive. Jessica Danforth is the current president of the United States. But the real question is, a beekeeper has now stepped right into the middle of their plans, which has Wallace deeply worried. He reaches out to the current CIA director, Janet, and tells her the truth, that a beekeeper has gotten involved in this whole mess and has already killed about 7 people. The moment Janet hears the word beekeeper, she immediately recognizes what it means. Not everyone may know this, but CIA agents have apparently heard this name before. Regardless, they need to stop this beekeeper by any means necessary. But how? The beekeeper has no contacts at all. Adam Clay is essentially a ghost, leaving behind no trace.
Matt mentions that the only thing they have on this man is a birth certificate showing he was born in England. He doesn't use any cards, no credit cards, no debit cards, nothing. So how exactly are they supposed to find him? At the same time, they find Mickey Garnett's body under the bridge, the man Adam killed. Moments later, Janet, the current CIA director, calls Wallace and tells him that Adam Clay is a former beekeeper. The Beekeepers are a type of secret organization, which we'll learn a bit more about shortly. But since Adam Clay is retired now, finding him at this point isn't really possible. However, she tells him not to worry. The current active beekeeper will take care of dealing with Adam Clay. But from Wallace, we also learn that the current active beekeeper is apparently a bit unstable and should have been let go a long time ago. Anyway, the CIA contacts the Beekeepers directly to have Adam Clay killed, and right on schedule at a gas station where Adam is fueling up his car, the current active beekeeper shows up. It's a woman, completely unhinged in her behavior, totally crazy, firing wildly at anyone who happens to get caught in the crossfire. She fights Adam, but obviously Adam kills her and takes her finger before leaving. Janet then breaks this bad news to Wallace. They inform him that the Beekeepers are monitoring the situation and have decided to stay neutral, meaning they won't be getting involved at this point. Since Adam Clay is no longer an active beekeeper, the organization won't take responsibility for whatever he does. So now Wallace has to handle things on his own. The next day, the FBI, Verona and Matt arrive at the gas station crime scene. They find the dead beekeeper, whose name turns out to be Anisette Anderson. She had brought a minigun with her, and they're shocked since miniguns are military-grade weapons. How could an ordinary person have access to one? At the same time, they find that Anisette Anderson, just like Adam Clay, has no record whatsoever with the CIA or the government. She too is essentially a ghost. They start to realize that these beekeepers must be hiding some kind of deep, completely classified secret. Anyway, Wallace then meets with a private security group. He's known them for a long time. The group's members include a former SEAL Team 6 operative and some former Delta Force soldiers. But even after gathering this many men, Wallace still has doubts about whether they can actually kill Adam Clay. Because once a beekeeper makes a vow, he sees it through. He'll carry out his mission until his very last breath. Verona also finds a book in the beekeeper's car filled with interesting facts about bees. She learns that some male bees are called queen slayers, meaning that when a queen fails to do her job properly, certain bees will kill her in order to replace her with someone else, referring to the bees responsible for overseeing and protecting the entire hive. We can compare this whole hive to the world itself, and in that comparison, the beekeepers are like those very male bees.
Meanwhile, Adam Clay, after taking the finger from the woman he killed, heads to a secret location, likely the place where the deceased beekeeper used to secretly live, something like a vault. He uses her fingerprint to unlock the secret door and gathers all kinds of weapons inside, since he's planning something big. Also, that office he burned down earlier, United Data Group, turns out to just have been one branch. He tracks down their main headquarters as well, called 9 Point Center, located in Boston, and Adam Clay is now headed there to tear the place apart. Meanwhile, FBI Director Prigg comes to meet with Verona and Matt. Verona tells them everything she believes, that Adam Clay is a beekeeper, a member of a secret organization, well, a former member. Director Prigg seems to have heard about this before, but pretends not to know or believe any of it. Verona mentions that Adam Clay's next target is likely the 9 Point Center in Boston, the main office overseeing all those call centers, and that they'll need additional troops, soldiers, a SWAT team to stop Adam Clay. Right on schedule, the FBI's own SWAT team arrives at the 9 Point building, but they run into the private mercenaries that Wallace had hired. The mercenaries refuse to let the FBI inside, insisting that they'll handle things on the inside themselves. As a result, the FBI ends up guarding just the perimeter of the building from outside. Meanwhile, the private security team tries to clear out the call center, anticipating that Adam might attack there. But they don't actually evacuate the office, since obviously that office is generating millions of dollars every single minute. They call Derek directly, their boss, who tells them that the private security's job is simply to provide security, so they should stay on guard outside, while the call center employees continue doing their jobs. But Adam Clay had already made his way inside. After brutally beating down the entire SWAT team outside, he enters the office. Inside, he encounters the private security team and beats them down just as thoroughly before finally confronting the call center manager. At first, the manager talks a big game, but the fear in his eyes quickly becomes obvious. Adam Clay keeps demanding to know who their boss is and where he lives. At first, the manager refuses to say anything, but after taking a serious beating, he finally caves and confesses everything. Verona and her team also arrive at the office, and they find the private security team in terrible shape. Basically, a beekeeper shows absolutely no mercy to anyone. Just like before, they once again fail to catch Adam. Wallace receives this bad news yet again, that his private security has failed to stop the beekeeper. One option after another keeps closing off for him, and now there's only one path left, bringing in Derek's mother, since if anyone can save Derek, it's his own mother, the current president, Jessica. Meanwhile, Verona and the team also discover that this 9 Point Center group has been using a piece of software to scam people and deceive them. A type of data mining software typically used by intelligence services, meaning the CIA and various government agencies, to uncover people's hidden identities. And the vendor behind that software is Danforth Enterprises, currently run by the son of President Jessica Danforth, a company with annual revenue of roughly $10 billion. Verona now begins to realize where the money for Jessica's, the current president's, campaign actually came from, most of it being black money.
But the real question now is, what is Adam Clay's next target? Obviously, he won't just kill Derek, he plans to kill his mother too, based on what he learned from that Beekeeper's book, since they directly target the Queen, also known as Queen Slayers, which is what could cause the entire hive to collapse or be destroyed. Meanwhile, Derek's own mother, Jessica, is coming to meet him. Naturally, presidential security is present, the Secret Service is there, every single vehicle is being thoroughly checked. At the same time, Wallace has hired some private mercenaries led by a man named Lazarus. Apparently, he once managed to kill a beekeeper purely out of luck and lost his own leg in the process. But is stopping Adam Clay really that simple? Not at all. These beekeepers are a secret organization that ranks above every security service the country has. Their main mission is to protect the country at any cost, and if protecting it means breaking the country's own laws, they will break them. First of all, would this world even exist without bees? Bees have directly contributed to the advancement of all civilization. They're the reason flowers bloom, the reason crops grow, the reason we have food at all, the reason humans learned farming. Everything traces back in some way to the contribution of bees. And that's probably exactly why they're called beekeepers, because their contribution to this world is greater than anyone else. To them, this entire country is like a hive, and their job is to look after that hive. So if any queen fails to do her job, they have the authority to replace her too. Adam arrives there in disguise, beating up a Secret Service agent and putting on his uniform to quietly blend in with the crowd. Meanwhile, FBI Director Prigg comes to meet the president. Director Prigg tells Jessica the whole truth about all the dirty business currently being run by Danforth Enterprises. Jessica no longer manages Danforth Enterprises, her son Derek does now. And the data mining software the company owns, which most companies use to gather people's hidden identities, locations, and all sorts of personal information, is the very same software being used to loot people. It's actually quite simple. If the government has all your information, then they also have all the information about your bank account. If they can extract all your data, they can extract money from your bank too. And that's exactly what Derek has been doing. Using the very same tool the CIA has used to catch countless terrorists to instead drain the bank accounts of countless elderly people. But Jessica says she knew nothing about any of this. She insists she won the election honestly, though she admits her campaign funds were black money. She decides she'll tell the police everything, even if it costs her the presidency. She's willing to accept that, but she can no longer continue living a lie. She plans to go to the Beekeeper and beg for forgiveness to plead for her own son's life. But will the Beekeeper really forgive them that easily?
He slips inside the building's perimeter. First, he sets off a diversion outside, planting a bomb in a car to create chaos, while keeping everyone occupied while the Beekeeper makes his way in. Killing soldier after soldier, he eventually confronts the private mercenaries, ruthlessly killing Lazarus as well. Finally, Wallace tries to stop him. Wallace doesn't actually fight him though, instead he pleads with him not to go through with this, but Adam Clay isn't listening to anyone at this point. Meanwhile, Derek kills his own director, Prigg, to keep these secrets from getting out and then holds a gun to his own mother's head, trying to use her as a human shield so the Beekeeper will let him go. The Beekeeper tells him that he doesn't fight for the law, he fights to deliver true justice. Somehow he realizes that President Jessica deserves to be spared, and very skillfully he shoots his own son Derek in the head and escapes from the scene. Verona sees him leave. She has a clear shot to kill Adam Clay right then and there, but she finally realizes that everything Adam Clay has done this whole time was for the greater good, and she gives him a chance to escape. Adam, wounded, makes his way to a beach where he had hidden some scuba gear under the sand beforehand. He takes the gear and disappears into the ocean so that no one can ever find him. I hope you now have a better understanding of these Beekeepers. They are a secret organization that places the country above the country's own laws, and they are willing to break those very laws in order to carry out their mission. So, that's where our story of Adam Clay, the Beekeeper, comes to an end.